everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. Today's video is a little bit different because it's the start of a series. Now normally I show you something that I've made and I go step by step through the end-to-end process. I wanted to do something more in the scrapbooking world. I used to do quite a bit of scrapbooking a few years ago, and then I went back to card making and 3D projects and pop-ups and things like that. But I thought I'd like to get back to doing what I used to do, and I thought I'd like to share with you what I was making. So I've got some plans for the pages inside this album, and I want to do, you know, pop-ups and pull flaps and things like that in it. But that would be a video that's about 3 hours long, and nobody's going to sit there and watch that. So I'm going to split it up into a series, and I'm starting off today with the covers and the flap pages inside. I normally stay within Stampin Up because I'm a Stampin Up demonstrator, and I normally stay within current product because I don't think it's fair to show you something and then tell you actually you can't buy that anymore. But for this, I'm going to be using things out of my stash. So I'm going to be using products that are not necessarily Stampin' Up, and I'm going to be using retired stamps because I've got some lovely stamps that will go through with my theme, which is seaside because I live by the sea, and it would be a shame not to use them. So with all of that in mind, part one is how I made the album. Stay with me and I will show you. To make the cover of my album, I've taken my piece of chipboard, which is just some packing material in this particular case, and I've cut two pieces 5 by 7 and one piece that is 7 by 2, and as you can see, this is the way they're going to fit together. And to fit them together, I've made a few of these. These are construction strips, and it's just a piece of card. In this case I use some retired dapper denim, and I've cut pieces that are 1.5 inches across, and I've scored and folded them halfway at 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and in this particular case I've only got my tear and tape on one side of my my construction strip, and I'm just going to measure this up against one of my pieces of chipboard here, and I'm just going to trim away the piece I don't want, which is about there. Yep, so that's about it. And the same for this one, just trim away the piece I don't want. Right, now I'm going to take one of my construction strips, and I'm going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive to it, as well as the tape, because this is kind of a belt and braces sort of a job. Take away the backing paper, and I'm going to bring these two pieces together, and I'm just going to put it just a little bit on the side of the fold. Okay, so I'm just going to use my piece of spare card here as a spacer. Okay, now I'm going to take the skinny piece in the centre, and I think I'll put the glue on first before I take the backing off the tape. Remove the backing, put in my spacer and line that up. So that's one half done. And do the same thing to the other side. The cork that I keep my piercing tool in is wants to join in the fun this afternoon. Well, at least it's afternoon now when I'm doing this. It might not be afternoon when you're watching it. It could be any time of day or night. You know, there's no law that says you have to watch videos at a particular time or not watch videos at a particular time. Whatever works well for you works well for the rest of us. Okay. And same thing one more time. I'll put this one quite near to the edge. And it doesn't really matter if this is a little bit messy because it's all going to be covered up. What does matter is that it is nice and strong, because these are going to be the covers of your album and you're going to want them to last, aren't you? Because, you know, there's no point in making a memory album if it's going to fall apart in a very short time. There we go, those are the covers all ready to be filled. I'm going to use the stack the deck method for inserting pages into my album. This method was created by Laura Dennison. Laura is an independent designer who creates the most amazing things, so I do urge you to hop on over and find her. I think she's at Follow the Paper Trail or Following the Paper Trail. But yeah, get on over there and see what she makes, because it is absolutely amazing. So I have 3 pieces of Tranquil Tide card. Colour doesn't really matter because it's largely going to be covered up by the pages that you put in there. And I've cut them to 6.5 inches, which is ½ inch shorter than the depth of my binding. And I have one piece which is 1 3/4 inch, one that is 2 1/4 inches, and another one which is 2 3/4 inch. So they get ½ an inch bigger every time. Alright, so you can put as many pages as you like into your albums using this method. I'm going to go with 6, which will give me 12 sides, which will be plenty for my purposes. So I'm going to score at 3 3/4 inch. I'm going to flip it round and I'm going to score it at 3/4 inch again. Okay, so I've got a 1/4 inch channel down the middle. Now the next one, again, 3/4 inch, turn it round, 3/4 inch. Okay, so this time I've got a bigger channel in the middle. And the last one, 3/4 inch. And yeah, you've guessed it, 3/4 inch. So now with my bone folder, I'm going to burnish those creases that I made, nice and sharp. My stylus slipped a bit on that one, but it doesn't matter. Not at all concerned. So that's the largest one and the smallest one, and this is the middle-sized one. Okay. So now I'm going to put tear and tape on both sides of these fins and down the backs of these parts. So now I'm going to stack the deck. I'm going to put this piece onto this piece, and then both of those are going to go onto that piece. I'm going to leave the backing on the pieces at the side because they're going to hold my papers later. And I'm going to use the tape and liquid adhesive method because that will give me a little bit of wiggle room, and it will also make it a little bit stronger in use. So I'm just centering that on that piece. Okay, so those fins sit up in the middle and those fins sit up at the side, and in between there I've got a space for bulky pages. And nope, not that one. I don't want to take the back off that one yet. That one really went wrong. So take the backing off these pieces, apply some liquid adhesive to give a little bit of wiggle room and for strength. And then line these up together. That's working well. That way a little bit. There you go. Okay. Now I'm going to take my folder and I'm going to press down so that those pieces are in good contact with each other. And here is my Stack the Deck binding. I've cut my DSP to cover the front of the album. I have two pieces which are 8 inches by 5.5, and I've got one piece which is 4 by 8, and I'm going to start with this piece because this is going to be for the spine. So I'm going to put my liquid adhesive all over the back here. And I'm going to put some along the sides here, just like that, and some in the middle, because why not? And I'm just going to line this into place. Okay. I'm trying to get it fairly even on the inside. I'm just going to take my bone folder and crease it down. So I'm trying to curve it round the spine here. If the glue stops sticking, because it's a warm day today, I'll just put in a little bit more. And the same thing for this side. It's not very even, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be covered up by the front pieces. And again, a little bit loose there. Okay. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip out just where those folds are. These are going to be my front and back panels. So I'm going to apply plenty of liquid adhesive. So that I've got a nice smooth finish on the inside, I want to trim off these corners, and I'm not going to cut right up to the edge of the cardboard. I'm going to cut just a little bit away from it, okay, just like that, and that will leave me enough paper to fold over the edge of the cardboard. As you can see, that corner there isn't brilliant, and that's because I didn't do a wonderful job of lining this panel up straight. But not to worry, because it's going to be covered when we put the inner lining on. So I'm just going to go on, and I'm going to do the same thing to the front cover. And yeah, I'll be back in a little bit. The outside covered, so now I'm going to do the inner lining, and I've just cut a piece off right across the 12 by 12 sheet, and I've cut it to just under 7 inches, so it's about 6 and 7/8, something like that. I don't think it's 6 3/4, it's more like 6 7/8. Okay, right, now I'm going to start by sticking down the center panel. Oops, bumped the tripod there. Sorry about that. And I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to run it down these channels here so that there's a nice crease and my paper doesn't crack. It's the same thing here. Okay, just to give it that finished appearance. And glue it down well. Okay. Let's fold these pieces back. Okay. Oh, and do you remember that corner that wasn't quite covered? I took one of the pieces, the offcut pieces, and I've just glued it over that little bare piece, so nobody will know it was there. Okay, it doesn't quite match, but it's a good enough match that it doesn't jump up and down and say, look, you missed a bit. I'm ready to take the backing off the adhesive. Okay. So I'm taking the backing off of my tear and tape, and I've put some liquid adhesive down the centre of the spine, and I've trimmed this to be 6 1/4 inches. So I'm just going to raise this up so that I can see it, because I need to see it, and I'm just trying to get that reasonably centered. And once I'm happy with that, guess what? Bone folder, bone folder, okay. And there's my binder covers finished. So that's the basis of my album, and I probably will decorate it a bit more over the weeks to come, but it's no good unless I've got some pages in it. And what I'm going to be basing my pages on are these. These are our Stampin' Up envelopes, and these are very vanilla, and I'm just going to show you one, because once you've seen one, you've seen them all, and this is how we roll. So I'm going to put some fast fuse along the flap to keep it closed. Did the fast fuse take there? Yes, it did. I'll just close that off. And then I'm going to take my craft knife and a ruler, and I'm just going to trim off on one side here, turn it round, and trim off the other side. Okay, and now I have a little pocket. Come in. Okay, so my first page didn't go in straight and required a bit of emergency surgery, so I stopped the camera while I did that. Take 2 went beautifully. I forgot to turn the camera on, so I'm going to show you on the 3rd page, and this is take 3, so I'm hoping that this one works as I want it to. So I'm going to take the backing off of my tear and tape, and yeah, of course you could have used liquid adhesive for this, but I've chosen to use tape. So just the same way, sealed up the envelope with fast fuse. I've trimmed off the edges, and I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to go from the centre outwards and just press down. And there is my page, and I've got a secret pocket in there that I can put journaling or photos or whatever it is I want to do. So I'm going to carry on and finish off the rest of these, and then that will be the first part of my scrapbook album project finished. So there it is. I've put all of my envelope pages inside, and now I can start building on these to make my my interesting and attractive scrapbook pages. That is it for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I will be posting more of my usual kind of videos soon, so if this hasn't been your cup of tea, then come back again and see what else I've been up to. But for now, bye bye.